What's going on? Move the mouse here. And today we're going to do a partial Cloverleaf intersection, something you'll find a lot of tutorials for, but in almost every case, you're going to need mods. So being a console player and catering to console and unmodded, hopefully this will help. We do need to leverage the mass transit DLC. If you don't have that, you could replicate one segment of this with a regular road, but I don't know. I don't recommend it. I recommend mass transit DLC. Of all the DLCs, it's one of the most useful because it gives you some great additional roads. But what is a partial Cloverleaf? Well, it's got half of a Cloverleaf in there, and it's a mirror image on either side. But essentially, we're getting traffic off the highway before we're getting traffic on. We're also doing something here that's very useful, which is separating out my traffic in both cases. So in this particular example I'm showing you right now, this is a highway interchange, but it could also just as easily be an exit that's dumping out to 2-lane one-way roads. Separating your traffic like a highway, or at least around your interchanges and exits, is definitely a useful tip that I would recommend we're going to be leveraging, and that's going to help us out a lot today. But either way, let's dive right in. We'll start with a relatively flat piece of ground, and let me tell you about the spacing here. In this case, we're going to be dumping our traffic out to either another highway system or a road network that is separated on either side. And basically what I mean by that is, instead of connecting to a 4-lane road, which would let traffic turn either way, we're going to use a pair of one-way roads really close together to basically achieve the same thing, but give us a little bit of traffic management in the process. So let's follow the journey for, well, one of these exits. Basically, the highway that we're on, you can go up or down. So when I'm getting off the highway, though, I want to be able to do a few things. I want to be able to go right, or I want to be able to go left. Now, before anyone criticizes the lack of ability to turn around on this interchange, I got some flack for that from my last stack interchange. If you're building an interchange to be a U-turn, you're doing it wrong. So before you comment about that, think about what you're trying to get done. And if people are using this as a U-turn, you're not building effective networks around that area of your map. When we get off the highway here, we can either go right, or if we want to turn left, we actually come under the highway. We're using a bit of mass transit here, so it's a bi-directional road. And then the only thing I can do when I hit this road is to turn right, which ends up being my left turn. So I can go straight, I can go right, I can go left. If you want to make a U-turn, do that someplace else, not on my highway, please. So how do we build that all? Well, we're going to start with a relatively flat piece of land and highway that is the standard distance apart. That is the traditional distance you'll find on most maps built in. I'll explain what that is in a moment here. So let's gut a pretty big portion of our highway here. We'll make some room on either side. We'll get it all connected afterwards. Now, with the regular 2-lane road selected, if we try and connect two pieces of highway on the built-in map, we'll be at about 160 credits, dollars, whatever we want to call it. Simoleons. So we're about 160 apart. And that's what we're going to do with our network here. I always say do regular roads first, so much easier. So I'm just going to connect this. We'll smooth out the ends afterwards and how that all hooks in. But I want these two roads to be 160 apart. And I'll connect this so the nodes should line up. Okay, we've got nice, consistent node network all the way down now, and 160 between. And we're going to come right around to the middle point wherever our road is that we're connecting with. And in this case, I'm going to come up 3 units. We'll set the smallest elevation step. And let's find a node, and just to keep things nice, we'll go 2 clicks. We want to make sure we've got a little gap on either side, because we're going to upgrade that to highway. And then just to confirm, where is the 160 point, we'll go flat ground, because if you're measuring with raised roads, they're actually more expensive. So do keep that in mind. We're 160 units apart. We're going to keep everything nice and uniform here. So we'll do that. And again, we should have room to upgrade our highways underneath. So switch over to the highway, 3-lane, upgrade. Make sure we've got room for this before we go too far. Again, you just want to make sure you got a little bit of room between the pillar and the road. Don't get right on top of it, otherwise you won't be able to turn it back into a highway. We're going to keep working here with the regular roads though, in the meantime. So we're going to kind of mirror the build on both sides of the intersection, but it's going to be a reverse image of one another. You'll see what I mean in a second. So let's focus on building one half of this first. Now, if we take a look at the intersection that I had already built, the road further away from us is the one that dips down first, because that one's actually going to go under this left-hand turn to get on the highway going that way. So let's do that first. Again, with regular road selected, I'm going to come out. There we go. I'm going to come out just 5 units to start, because I want a little bit of room to come underneath here. Okay, so we're extending. We're pushing that pillar out. And now from here, again, this is the road that goes down first. So we'll go 12 units out. If we go any further, it ruins our slope. And there's other ways to trick this out, but this is not a small intersection, I will say. But it is very efficient at hopefully not getting backed up, at least with the exception of the most heavy use cases. Now here, I'm going to come out another 12 units, but I'm not going to drop down to the ground here. And then I'm going to go another 12 out. So again, for another smooth slope like that. Again, if you're driving right-hand traffic, the road that crosses further away is the one that drops down first. Now let's do the exact same thing on the other side, except again, we're going to flip our view around here. We're going to come out 5. That's when that line appears. So again, 5 on both. The one that's further away from our forward motion is the one that gets dropped down first. Extend this other one out to that same node and then drop it down at 12 units from there. And you should have something that looks like that. Now, it doesn't matter what side we start on. We'll do one and then do the other. I'm going to grab, again, regular roads. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of room to work with, so I don't want to be... Let's see what this looks like. Let's come just underneath that and see how much space we have if we come one click out. I think that should be sufficient. Yeah, that's good. That's plenty good. Okay. But again, not yet. We'll leave regular roads for now. So we came, again, because we're centered on this node here. Oh, nope, not radio. The straight tool. Okay. So see how we're like dead center on this node, which then equally extends to both sides. So if we want, we can keep mirror imaging this as we go. Might make it a little bit easier. So we're basically going one click in here, just past the bridge. So there's one square, or technically 2 squares of zoning before the end of my road. And just to confirm over here, same thing, right? There's 2 squares of zoning past the bridge right there. All right, now if you followed along exactly to this point, we're going to use a curve of 8 to connect to our next node. But if it doesn't quite line up, make sure that you're just splitting the distance in 2. So for example, if I go out to here, where the center of that circle is across that line, that's 10 units. Back 1 is 9, with 1 square space is 8. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to come over here, the same thing. That's 9, that's 8. And the way I have this set up, again, 9, 8. 8 happens to be that perfect curve coming back into here. If your roads are a little bit spaced out, just, figure out, is it 9 that I need to come over? 9 and 9, 10 and 10, 7 and 7. If it's 7 and 7, you're not giving yourself enough space. But either way, just make sure that that is a nice, smooth connection. Again, we'll do the same thing over here. So that is 10, that's 9, that's 8. Nope. We don't want to connect to the raised one. We want to be down on the ground for this. And now we've got something that looks a little bit like that. Now, I'm just going to connect for the sake of these roads kind of not ending right at the edge of the highway. We'll extend them out a little bit. And I'm going to do them uniform like this to hopefully keep all the node segments the same. We probably have a coastal road that connects in right here. But again, this is just an example. So now that we've got this, we've got an easy way to get off the highway. And in fact, let's connect that piece first. So we'll come down with the curve tool where I'm lined up right at the edge of that circle. We can come right over. We can click down, it gets a little smoother. If we go too far, it won't let us connect. So generally the furthest it will let you, one, it's not going to move the node as much. We'll move it a little bit. See, bumped it up a square. But at least it creates a little bit more natural of a curve coming off of here. There are ways to trick it out. I'm not an aesthetic builder. I'm just trying to help make things easier for console and unmodded players. So I'm sure some people know some improvements. You can kind of drive roads into the side of it to make that angle sharper, but good enough for me. We'll come do the same thing down here. So again, curve tool, right to the edge of the circle and just shy of that node. Because if we go to that node, it will let us connect. Okay, all right. So it's going to be difficult over here, I guess. That's okay. So we've got something that looks like this. So notice getting off, we've got this kind of turnaround that's going to bring us back to turn left. That makes sense. So how do we go right? Well, we want to get connected over here. So let's see. I think we can do this. We'll leave one square space here and connect a straight road from here to here. We could try and hook in there, and I think that we can. But let's do this first. So again, we're leaving a square space. We'll connect to there, just to line everything up nicely. I'm going to delete this closest one because we're actually going to curve into that. Let's see how we do this. Maybe we come at it this way so we can curve like that. It's good enough. It's good enough for me. And again, this is about making an easy interchange, not making it super difficult. You can tune and tweak it once you get it in the right spot, traffic flow wise. So again, same sort of thing. What if we come out to here and then to that node? And again, we've got something looking like that. We're almost done. This one's easy. Now, as I say this one's easy, here's the tricky part. So we're driving down the highway. We're going straight. We can get off going right. We can get off going left. Let's hook this last piece in here. And I think we can do it. So we'll delete the last straight segment and then we'll curve that in. So let's go to the 10 mark and like that. And that should be relatively smooth. And again, out to the 10 mark and like that. Pretty easy. Now, how much time you spend on this next bit is the trick. So we'll go back to our radio for no reason. We'll go back to our straight tool and let's bring this out another 10 units. I'm giving ourselves some space here. And again, you don't have to do it the exact same way. I'm just doing this so that it's nice and uniform and all the nodes line up and that hopefully it is easy to replicate. So if we're now on the perpendicular road, we could make that a lot smoother too. That jumps up a little bit much, but again, another topic. So we're coming this way. And when we're on these roads, we want to do the exact same thing. We want to be able to go straight. We want to be able to go right. We want to be able to go left. Let's worry about the right first. So we're going to actually share this road. It's going to be a 2-lane road up to this point. If we don't line this up with a particular node here, like if we want to try and get funky with it, we could make a new one here. I'm going to keep things simple. So halfway through the circle, connect up to here. And same thing, right? Halfway through the circle. And right, connect up to here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break the second part of this segment. One tick away. We'll go straight, maybe out 5. And then we'll curve it in. 1. So what is this? 1 click, 2 click, 3 click. Past the node. One click away. Whoop, straight tool, 1 click away, out 5. Okay, so node 1, 2, 3. And then we'll delete this last little segment, and that's where we hook those two in. So curve tool until we meet that little line, and then do that. And you've got something that looks like that. Okay, last step before we break out the upgrade tool and hook it all in, we'll need to change some directions too. But now, this side road, how do we turn left? That's the tricky part. And why we did these intersections like this, why the further one is lower, is because we're going to turn left over this. And we're going to hook into this road. So the same way that people coming this way are going to turn right to get on the highway that way, the people coming this way are going to turn left and link up with this same bit of road. So how do we do that? This is the tricky part. We're going to come from this node and let's do the curve tool, but we want to get a 45-degree angle first. So try and line up a 45-degree angle that's lined up with those nodes on the road next door. And then we want to bring it maybe out to here where it's lined up with this node. We'll come out to that line right there. And again, I'm going to line it up with this node right here, but I'm not going to go all the way down. I want to have a little bit more of a run. And then why don't we come like one square? Can we get one square in, or does it want to snap to different roads? Let's see if we can do this. Almost at the road. And then to there. What does this look like? Does this look terrible? We could make that better. What if we just connect it straight? I think that's better. It's good enough for me. So again, curve tool. Grab that node. Come out 45 or as close as you can. That's good enough for me. 53. And again, we're going to come out to where we line up with this before we worry about coming down at all. And again, we'll come out to that line, the edge of the circle, click in, and then we'll see if we can come down again to there. Where was it lining up last time? It was lining up with one of these nodes, just a little bit outside. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect. So, still a bit of a mess. Let's break out the upgrade tool first, get all our roads in the right spot. So these are going to be highways. If it won't let you upgrade a road, well, delete it and reconnect it after. I think that might be the only segment that we have a problem with. Didn't have a problem on this side, so a little bit of a fluke. We can just connect this back in. Let's do it with a regular on-ramp. We'll come out like so. That should be good. A little bit of a bend there. That's all right. We've got our highways. What do we think? This way. The original design concept for this, I had actually hooked this into 2-lane one-way roads. So I'll do the same thing here. Not highway, but 2-lane one-way roads. If you have mass transit, you could also do the 2-lane highways here. But this is just going to give us some potential zoning space. So upgrade everything that we can. We'll come back and fix some of these other segments that are being problematic. So let's break this middle bridge. And we moved our pillar segments around a little bit. So I've still got the 2-lane one-way roads. We're going to grab here and we're going to see if we can put a pillar right in the middle. One of the reasons why we want to give ourselves space so that we can do stuff like that later on. We've got highways. You We've got one ways. Let's upgrade to our on and off ramps. Now, thing to be careful here. This is actually a double function, that curve. And this is where mass transit definitely comes into play. So getting off the highway, I want to go here to the right. And I know we haven't changed directions yet. Or I want to go this way to come up there. But I also want this road being able to use this turn off. So this particular segment, we're going to use the two-way highway. Right there. And why don't we just go do that same thing over here? Well, we've got that tool out. And then back to the off ramps. And now change direction. So I am dealing with right-hand traffic. Take care of the highway first. Make sure we don't have any markers. And in fact, why don't we get this connected in while we're at it? So curve tool with standard highway until we line up, and then just hook it in. And we'll do the same thing here. Spacing gets a little funky going into that other intersection I built, but as long as you keep things consistent, that's the most important part. Little trick for reconnecting the highways. I'm going to come out, again, consistency is key. I'm going to come out 20 units and I'm going to hook it in. I know that doesn't look right yet. 20 units and hook it in. Now delete the segment on either side. Do it again. And you whoa, not that one. And you should be able to eventually hook it in a little bit smoother. So not perfect, but console and unmodded, it works. The big problem with the Cloverleaf is traffic gets off as it's getting on. There's just this big jam in the middle. And this removes that problem by removing traffic from the highway first before introducing it. And when we separate our connective roads here, right, the ones that we're exiting to, either the other highway we're interchanging or the downtown district that we're getting off, this allows for again a few things. It allows very minimal cross traffic, because if I'm turning right, this is the only interchange, traffic going the same way. And by putting this left-hand exit here, again, we're doing the same thing. We're preventing these cases where traffic has to overlap one another. Now, I know it may not be as beautiful as the stack interchange I posted last, but it is highly functional. You can still very much break traffic in cities. That is not a challenge, right? Please don't try and test this. But this is a really nice way to create a different looking intersection, and one that solves some interesting challenges, but is very tough to mimic on consoles and unmodded cities if you don't have DLC. I think you can't do it. At least I haven't figured out a way to really do it without the mass transit DLC. You can cause all kinds of problems and mess and spaghetti to get around it, sure. But ideally, we want to prevent that stuff where we can. Now, if you have mass transit, you could also do a little bit of lane mathematics at this point to make some of these on and off spots a little bit smoother. But again, this is the setup. Go and improve upon it. Build it a couple times and just learn those key design principles. By separating out your roads a little bit, you give yourself room to play around, to build some extra intersections, and give yourself a little bit of playroom so you can manage traffic and do things a little bit different. So let me know what you think of the Parclo for Co and Unmo, partial Cloverleaf for console and unmodded. I hope it helps your cities. I hope you have fun. I hope it was easy enough to follow. Again, it's all about symmetry, consistency. Do it and then do it again on the other side. And I think just make your day easier, and always leave space. Biggest tip. Second biggest tip. use regular roads when you're building this stuff too. Highway snaps all funky, regular roads, best way to go. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was easy to follow. And if it was, leave a like. Appreciate it. Helps the channel a lot. If you're new here, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one. But until then, this is Move the Mouse, signing off.